plus 500 or plus 5,000 in the case of like E. coli and other things. So we can observe all of that in the lab.
Okay, that is totally incorrect. We do not observe fruit flies having any better or new function. Go study what they've created. They've duped the flies and microwaved them and x-rayed them and exposed them to toxins of all kinds. They've never developed a fly, any of the flies, of the thousands of mutations. None of the mutations are better off than the ordinary fly they started with. None of them have new functions. Some have no eyes. Some are blind. Some have 4 wings and they can't fly. Some have no wings. You cannot point to a single example in the fruit fly experiment, which is a classic one because it wants to thousands of generations of fruit flies, which would be the equivalent of billions of years of human life or whale life or dinosaur life. None of the flies are better off than great-grandpa fly. None of them. So whoever taught you there's a better new information, like, you get your money back.
Sure, there's a study right here done by Florida State University that shows exactly what I just said.
What do they show exactly? Show me the beneficial fly that's better off than the ordinary fly they started with.
I would be happy to. I can send it to you. I don't know if I can read the entire study right now.
Okay.
This is a pretty common feature. If you want to look at it, it's David Hoyle and Keir Bolstead. The mutation predicts 40 million years of fly wing evolution through these experiments. So we've observed this. We can observe the better surviving flies just through changes in microevolution. We can observe it in not just flies, but also mice and rats and all kinds of things, and E. coli and bacteria. And the reason we need to get new vaccines every year is because the bacteria that we had the vaccine to prevent has died off, and one of the new mutations has made it stronger, so that it's now immune to the antibacterial. So we see this all the time.
Well, certainly we do not see this all the time. Now, let's take one topic at a time. I will search for the article by David Hoyle, Florida State University. You're saying they developed a better wing. Would you please elaborate on that? What do you mean they got a better wing? You mean they actually caused a fly to have better wings with this mutation with 40 million years condensed into one lifetime?
You'd have to read the study. I'm not an expert on it, but I'm pretty sure that would be. So, but let's go with the easy one that we all know and love, is that we need new vaccines for every kind of new bacteria. We have an antibacterial. The antibacterial stops working because of microevolution that makes the bacterial stronger, so it's immune to the antibacterial. So we need to get a new one.
I think you will find that in every case, something that is causing, let's take the bacterial infection, okay? And they develop something, an antibacterial, that will kill those bacteria, and then one of them all of a sudden is not killed by that antibiotic for whatever reason. There's always a loss of information. So back to my analogy of they're coming to you, handcuffing everybody, holding them all to kill them, and you don't have any arms, so they can't handcuff you. Oh. That's not beneficial. It's beneficial for the moment. You get to survive. Eventually, the whole population may be harmed. So they can handcuff them. So that will be an example. But now they need a new vaccine. Well, let's get things okay instead. That's the type of thing you're doing here. You're seeing bacteria that can help survive against the antibiotics because they have a wealth of information. You did not demonstrate they had new information. You demonstrated they survived. Harmless people surviving in a society where they're handcuffed. That's not new information, and it's not helpful. And if you put those bacteria that did survive out into the population of all the other bacteria, they wouldn't survive. Just against that one particular threat, that one particular antibiotic, in the wild, this doesn't happen in nature. It is imagination, but stuff that they said it does. So, no, you have not given any examples. They have to develop new vaccines. I don't think it's the whole vaccine industry to begin with. I think the whole concept is wrong. But that's a different story. So, giving somebody a vaccination to prevent them from getting a particular disease, and all of a sudden the vaccine stops working and they get that disease anyway. That means that whatever the item was that is causing the disease, the bacteria, the parasite, whatever, may have developed a resistance to that vaccine. But it didn't do so. I need new information. They don't have arms. It can't be handcuffed now. All the examples I'm aware of in this field, especially vaccinations, etc., are examples of losing information, not gaining. And if you want to think that going to turn an amoeba to a whale over trillions of years. You can believe that if you want, but that's not science. It's not observable. It's a religious belief. And I admire your faith. I don't admire your science, and that is what I admire your faith.
So we definitely see it's green, it's not
You don't impress me.
Do not see it's gaining information.
Taste the
Don't
blade
say
of
that.
Oshtek.
We see it as surviving.
Taste the blade of Oshtek.
Doesn't mean it's gaining information. If you like to not see that,
right. So I used to try to do something new that none of the other tools could ever use before.
that's not information. That's like somebody with no arms can now survive on an income.
Taste the blade of
Not new
Oshtek.
information. Well, that's a
Taste the
loss of
blade of
information.
Oshtek.
So bacteria have
Taste
a
the blade
loss
of
of
Oshtek.
information. That now the antibiotic
I will drink your blood.
however it's killing it.
Taste the blade of
That
Oshtek.
is new information.
Taste the blade of
He's
Oshtek.
surviving now. That other ones do. But as I said, that's not new information. And it's
Taste
not
the blade of
helpful to
Oshtek.
bacteria. And in the general
Taste the blade of Oshtek.
There are no examples where this happens, where it survives and takes over the population. All of that butterfly that took over the population, took over the population, and now all of them are resistant to that bacteria. It's still a butterfly. It didn't gain any new functions. It's a butterfly.
So if bacteria didn't take over the population, then why do we have to give the injection to everyone? Doesn't make any. Doesn't. I don't really follow your logic here because it seems like the new bacteria does take over the population of pretty much everyone and affects everyone because it does take over the population.
Well, it would take over the population with an inferior bacteria that can't be killed because something went wrong, something mutated in that bacteria. Now, that antibiotic can't latch onto it to kill it. I think if you study this at the microscopic level, you'll see it lost information. Usually in the, if I recall, some of the examples have been where the cell wall no longer has the right portals for the antibacteria to enter it and kill it. I don't have the details on that. It's been years and years since I studied that. But again, it was a loss of information, not a gain. You're welcome to believe this stuff, but it's guys like you that want to force all the kids in the public schools to learn this stuff like it is science, and you want to force all the people in America to pay you for it while it happens. It's unconstitutional. That's not common sense. It's not even morally right.
So we have an example of, I have no idea how to pronounce this. This is MRSA. It's a new strain of Streptococcus, something or another. It's adapted to become immune to all of the antiviral and antibacterial stuff because it's gained a new function where it can process those things, which could never have done before. It's not a loss of information. It's a new information that's been gained. You can, the Wikipedia is what I'm using right here. It's pretty easy if you could go to it and look at it. It's fairly obvious. It is definitely gaining information. It's a new function. It's processing. It's taking the antibacterial or the response mechanism and doing something physically different to it. So it's not a loss of information. It's not like losing your hands. It's like gaining more hands.
I'll have to see that to believe that. I'd also have to point out that this does not demonstrate that that process can be carried on for long periods of time and therefore turn a bacteria to a whale. It does not explain that at all. This is one tiny step, like saying, look, I can jump 6 inches high, therefore we could jump to the moon if we practice enough. No, you cannot jump to the moon no matter how much you practice.
This is just a +1. This is just a +1. And if we can add +1 to +1 to +1 to +1, it's pretty reasonable to believe that it'll keep going to plus a trillion if you take a long enough time, right? You said that was reasonable.
But you're appealing to the unseen. This is where it becomes a religion, not a science. This is not observable. Nobody ever sees any bacteria produce a non-bacteria. Never.
Right. And we've never seen a human being ever count to a trillion. It's just not even possible for a human being to do. But we can still say, because we can count from 1 to 100, that we can infer that that same process can get to a trillion.
There's no question. You could count to a trillion if you had enough time and had nothing else to do and had somebody paying for your lunch while you did it. I think that'd be a complete waste of time. Just get a computer to do it. I call it math. Okay. But that's not example that's going to turn a bacteria to a whale. So, and it's not new information. The survivability thing is that it may be able to survive now where it couldn't before. You may get a bacteria that learns to actually eat and live off of the antibiotic that you give it. That's like me being on an island learning to live off of, coconut shells. I suppose if you were starving, you could learn, as people that have gone to concentration camps have learned to live off some pretty unsavory things. Their body adapted to that. During World War II, the zoos in England, they said, look, no more meat for the lions. Sorry, we got to give it to the soldiers. So the lions, very reluctantly, learned to live off of cabbage and vegetation. Already had a digestive system, already had a mouth and a chewing system, a teeth and salivary gland. They didn't get any new information. They just adapted to a new diet, that's all, and they're still a lion. When all was said and done, after the war was over, they gave them meat. Now they could go back to what they were before. That was an adaptation. And what you're describing is an adaptation, not a new information. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with this, Tom. You've already got it settled in your head what you want to believe. So is there any other topics you'd like to discuss? I disagree. There's no new information in the fly or the bacteria or anything. There's an adaptation to the environment, which is not new information.
All right, so I can not use the term new information. I can say that the microevolution causes the DNA to change, and there's the new child can have a better survivability, and then that new child can have microevolution, which causes its genetics to change, and that its child can have better survivability. And if we keep adding survivability, then the child that's like 1 trillion down the line will have a whole lot more survivability than the first child. So much so that it could possibly explain all the different species of life, because they all have different levels of survivability.
That's a fairy tale. But you're welcome to believe it. That's not what we see. What we see is cows produce cows, and you get varieties that happen. You get cows that give more milk, cows that have more beef, cows that can run faster. But you're never going to get a cow with a jet engine that can travel around the world in 24 minutes. It can happen. There are limits. Yes, there are variations that happen, but there are limits to the variation, and they have to already be in the gene code.
I agree completely. So as far as I know, the limits on evolution are, one, it can only create things that are selected for by the environment. It can't break the laws of physics, and it can't break the laws of logic. Those are essentially the limitations. And as far as I can tell, again, all forms of life are just different combinations of ATCG. So if you have one single-celled organism even, that can mutate and have a child who has more survivability, that mutates in a child to have even more survivability, which we can observe this in fruit flies and butterflies and rats and mice. We see this happening just with microevolution, where some children have more survivability than others. It seems reasonable, since this more survivability is just a different combination of the ATCG, that we can get the entire diversity of life, starting from a single cell, with just that ATCG, and more levels of survivability. Like counting 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, we can do to 100. We can't do it to 1 trillion, but it's reasonable to believe that we can go with this process to 1 trillion. It seems like it would be the exact same thing. I don't see the difference.
I really believe you that you don't see the difference. Now that I believe. Okay? I wish you would. And all life form is not just CATG. Okay? Like all words, all books in the world are not just ABC. They're ABC arranged in a particular order to portray thoughts. There's more to a book than just ink on paper. Not just ink on paper. It's ink in a particular shape, like the letters of the alphabet, arranged in a particular order, like common sense, English sentence structure, paragraph structure, etc. So all of life is not just a simple CATG. It's just not. That is the letters of the alphabet that we write the biological code with, and all the proteins are written with that code. And the lines of code do have CATG arranged in a particular order. It's very easy for that to go bad. If you had a computer that could read books, and as soon as it came across a misspelled word, it shut the computer down, shut it down. Okay? That would be similar to mutations happening in this code, CATG, something goes wrong, computer shuts down. Stops, it dies. Tom, I don't think I'm going to get you to see this. I think we're wasting our time here. You said you don't believe in a God. You really think this process you're describing can explain how we got here? Is that going to form the world? Is that going to create life to begin with? Is that going to change an amoeba to a whale over trillions of years? Do you really believe that?
I think so. I can think we can see the relation between an amoeba and a whale is the exact same as the relation between you and your cousins and your children and your parents. We can see it in the DNA. We can just do a DNA comparison between you and your parents and see that you both have the same genetic modification that only exists in your family and no one else's family. We can do the same thing between whales and amoeba or any other species and show they are similarly have a DNA pattern that only exists between that inch of the family tree.
Tribal.
And all of this happened by chance for no reason. What is the purpose of life, Tom? What's going to happen when you die?
No idea.
Not worried about it?
Really, I think that we can't. Why should I be afraid of something that can't exist at the same time I do by definition?
Okay. If you're happy with that, we'll see you Judgment Day.
Round one.
So you're not worried about when you die because you can't be dead and alive at the same time. Brilliant logic. Brilliant. You're not worried about driving because as long as you're driving, you're okay. You don't worry about the other cars because you haven't wrecked yet.
I think it's equally as likely that any one alternative of what's going to happen after I die is no more plausible than any other. And so we're thinking that maybe I could, for example, if I converted to Christianity and thinking I could go to heaven for that, it's just as likely there's a God who will send you to hell for believing. There's no reason for me to pick one or the other, and it seems like I should just withhold judgment because that's probably the most reasonable approach.
I've got in my hand an ink pen. Let's see, where's this thing made after? Don't know, don't care. Well, this had a designer, quite obviously, and it was designed for a purpose. To transmit ink to paper so you can write things. I think that it's obvious that all life on Earth had a designer, and it was designed for a purpose. Our job is to find out what is that purpose and who is this designer? Does he want anything out of me or she? Do they expect anything? I think that's very logical to say, hey, just like you can find a screw on the parking lot and say this didn't happen by chance, somebody designed this screw. I think it's reasonable to say somebody designed the code, somebody designed the order the code is put into, CATG, to make these proteins. Somebody designed the arrangement of all these proteins to make these cells. If you choose to not see a creator, well then, okay. The Bible talks in 2 Peter chapter 3 that in the last days there would be scoffers who would come who would be willingly ignorant. Willingly ignorant about the creation. That's you, Tom. Put your name by that verse. 2 Peter chapter 3. Put your name there, that's you. You don't want to believe. It wouldn't matter what I showed you. You don't want to believe.
That's kind of true because I see a big problem with Christianity in the fact that if there was an all-good, all-powerful God, it would have created the best of all possible worlds. And we truly don't live in the best of all possible worlds, so there can't be an all-good, all-powerful God.
Okay. All cars should run forever, and they don't. Therefore, nobody makes cars.
Well, an all-powerful designer definitely doesn't make them. Somebody who has limited makes them.
A powerful creator did make it, and we messed it up. Maybe it's our fault it's not working right, not his. And maybe he's got to fix it back one day like he intended it originally. It wouldn't be right for God to make Adam and Eve as robots. He made Adam and Eve and gave them freedom of choice. Just like it's not right for you to grab your wife around the neck and say, tell me you love me or I'm going to smack you. That's not right. Okay? You want her to want to love you voluntarily. If she doesn't want to, okay. But you don't force that kind of thing. And God's not going to force you to serve him or love him or even believe in him. You can do whatever you want. I think he made it really obvious with everything in nature. You could look at an amoeba under the microscope and you'd have to say, wow, there's a designer. Take the tour of our property here at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. We show the people where there's whole rows of trees planted in nice, neat rows because it was a gravel pit for years. After they got done mining the gravel, they planted the trees and they put them in nice, neat rows. That doesn't happen naturally. I have no idea who planted the trees. I know somebody planted them because they're in a row. That just speaks of design. When I look through a microscope or a telescope or just my eyeballs, I can see design everywhere I look. You don't want to see design because that would mean a designer, and you're running from him for some reason. Don't know. We'll see you Judgment Day. But the Bible says God made man and he gave him freedom of choice, and some have chosen they don't want to believe in him. Okay. I'm going to feel real foolish Judgment Day. Real foolish.
So from my perspective, I think if there was an all-good, all-powerful God, it would have created a world where every single person essentially gets their own universe and they can do whatever they want with it. You can still have free will and suffering and evil. You just aren't forced involuntarily into any position that you don't voluntarily choose to be a part of. And that seems to be the only world that an all-good, all-powerful God could create. Anything else is just, by definition, slavery. So because we don't each have our own universe that we can choose to be a part of, and we're forced against our will to be a part of this world, it means that God must necessarily be immoral for putting us into this situation.
So you want to create God in your image. What the devil wanted to do in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. He wanted to become God. I think that's what you want, Tom. You want to be God. You want to create your own universe. Go ahead. Go make one.
I think that's if there was an all-good God, he would have done this. I think I don't want to be God. I want every individual to have sovereignty over themselves. So no individual should be able to force any other individual to do anything they don't consent to. Including God.
Wait. Would that include forcing kids in public school to learn evolution even though they don't want to learn it? I think that should be forced on all the kids in the public school. They should all be made to learn this theory.
Well, I think they should have their own universe and they can do whatever they want in it.
They don't. So meanwhile, in this universe, kids who believe in God go to public school and their textbooks say it all happened by chance, there is no God, the earth is billions of years old. And yet the kids who read their Bible say, no, the earth is about 6,000 years old. That's what this book teaches, and that's what I believe. Should we force all kids in the public school to be taught the earth is billions of years old and dinosaurs died out millions of years ago? Should that be forced on all the kids?
I think the school should teach what is supported by the evidence. Whatever is supported by the most evidence is what should be taught in school.
So you're saying, yes, you should force them to believe that because you happen to think that is supported by the most evidence. I think the most evidence supports the fact that dinosaurs lived with man. They called them dragons. People killed them. They always lived with man. How about that's what the evidence really shows? I mean, why are there thousands of legends of dragons? There are also thousands of sightings in the last 100 years or so of that maybe some dinosaurs still alive, like Loch Ness Monster type stuff. I'll watch my video 3. I think the evidence clearly supports dinosaurs did not live millions of years ago. They've always lived with man, maybe under a different name, dragon or something, and that they're part of normal creation. I think everybody should be forced to learn that. How's that go?
If that was supported by the evidence, I would totally agree with you. But I don't see the difference. Like, how do you get to the...
Supported by the evidence, and so do the majority of Americans. I'm a minority, 10% of the population that claim to be atheists. How come the minority of your people are able to force their belief on everybody? You guys go start your own private school and force your belief on those kids who come, who want to come. You have to go to school. This is not something optional. You are forcing everybody, against their will, to learn what you want them to learn. I don't care what the evidence shows. Even that is just simply morally wrong. How can there be morals anyway if there's no God? I got to go. John, time's up. I got lots going on here. But thank you for having me on your program. And if anybody would like to do this again sometime, I'd be honored. But I don't think you made any headway at all in proving your point. Certainly not to me, you haven't. And if you want to believe this new information comes from rearranging, scrambling letters of the alphabet, enjoy yourself. But it's not science.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you giving me your time, and I hope to talk with you again sometime.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tribal.
Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification link to receive notifications on recent videos that I upload to this channel. Also hit the like button if you want to follow or add to your Facebook page. Home of the Fast Hands Party. That's TONYFASTAAN or type in my email to my comment section, please, which is TONYTONYAN@gmail.com. That's gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram, Finally, criminal sexual abuse. Their focus is the position of the Progressive Baptist Church.
Round two.
In fact, the establishment, which is in New York, is moving a 2-year-old against his own 14-year-old daughter on the same ground since 2012, right after the There it is. Told her 15-year-old Miami is about to which was reported. The husband, the girl, told the brother, had full custody of the teen and his twin brother. After their mother died 7 years ago, he became single and started to live with his pastor, which was his education every other weekend. It was first unrelated. When the teen came home, the teen appeared distressed. And when he asked what was wrong with the girl, feeling out that the man sexually assaulted her, this was cold. And a viral video making it clear to the details of the teen also
Okay, so in 2012, my husband's mother passed away. He had three younger siblings. One of them were about 14, and then he had a younger set of twin siblings, a little boy and a little girl. You know, without getting into like the legal part of it, he was granted sole guardianship, sole custody of kids. He's been raising them ever since 2012. Okay. As he was in court, the father of the twins is a registered sex offender. He's been arrested for having sex with an underage child. At the age of 14, I think the little girl was, when he got caught. He got caught with a little girl in a movie theater, having sex with her. He was arrested, sent to jail. I'm not even going to get on the bishop yet. I'm going to talk about Matthew Gibson, which is Amani's father. So my husband is raising his siblings, and the court grants the father of the twins visitation every other weekend. Despite numerous trips down to the court for him being verbally abusive, physically abusive to the kids, the court still denied us a stop visit order. Like, they still continue to tell my husband, you have to subject the kids to this man, you have to give the kids over to him. There's no way that we can stop his order. Like, the system just failed us, and they failed Amani. So my husband and I repeatedly went down to the court several times about this man being physically and emotionally, verbally abusive to both of these babies. The court did absolutely nothing. They did nothing. So, make a long story short, for the last 7 years, we've been raising these kids together. The family's help, you know, we've been raising these twins. Wednesday night, Amani came home from school, because I do have her permission. I do have my husband's permission. My husband's little sister came home from school, and she just didn't seem right. So, you know, when I asked her, Amani, are you okay? Is everything fine? You know, you having a bad day? She was bothered by her day. And long story short, she told us that she had a problem with boys. She didn't like boys. She didn't want anything to do with them. And so when I asked her why, she said, because of my dad. So we said, okay, why because of your dad? What happened? And she just blurted out to us that for the past, I don't even want to speak it, however many years, he has been taking her after church on Sundays during his weekend visitation. He's been taking this baby into the bathroom in the church, raping her. In the backyard of the church, raping her. Inside of the choir room, raping her. And we had no idea that this was happening. I'm so angry because many times we went to the court and the court did nothing. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. So this man continued to rape this baby over and over again for years. And the court did nothing. They did nothing. They did nothing. They did nothing to protect this girl. Every time we went, and try to fight for his visitation to be suspended. The court failed us. They failed us. So we found out on Wednesday night that this man has been molesting his daughter, which is my husband's baby sister, who is now 14. He had been molesting her since she was 8. Right after her mother passed away, this is what the man was doing to his own daughter. So I decided, because this was taking place in a church where the bishop of that church was not only a rapist, also, he had also molested his own daughter. He had been raping his daughter. So we know that there are other victims. We know that there are other people, other women, other little girls, other children that were subjected to both of these men. So I need everybody's help. I've never ever done a live like this. I've never ever asked something of you guys so more serious than this. I need everyone's support. I need you guys to stay here. I need you to share this live out, because I need everyone to see this, because we're hoping that with us bringing this out before the public, that somebody else will come forward. Matthew has been arrested. Her father has been arrested. He's been charged. We actually have him on a recording admitting to everything. We need to bring that bishop down, because church should be a place of worship. Church should be a place of prayer and healing and restoration. Church is...
Enough of you, fool.
Faction battle. Challenge accepted.
Name change.
Jason Voorhees. Kotal. Round 2. Fight.
Ladies and gents, bro, this is Alex to the Myers. I know this is Alex Myers. I know, can Sakura, I'm like, bro, say the pose, like, Sakura, I want to Sammy. Hey, you don't know the I don't know Sakura that well. Yeah, but it's Kenny, like, what better?
Yeah, but no, but like, I would love to play soccer or Sakura, however you want to say it. Because I haven't seen him actually get down with it. But I know he's the best player. Oh, I'm excited. Woo! Oh, yeah. All right. I wanted the camera.
Finish him.
I wanted the knife sticks, bro.
So you wanted that?
I really wanted the camera. Okay.
Kalena Papa!
Ladies and gentlemen.
Kombat
Oh man, I haven't seen
wins.
the Sakura. It's time to tame a gorilla. It's ultra. Let us go. It's time to tame a gorilla, bro. Let's go. Give him the gorilla, baby. Bro, if y'all don't know gorilla, if y'all never met Alex Myers in real life, this dude's a gorilla. Literally, he's huge. He's a handsome gorilla. The dude's like 7 feet. People love gorilla. Okay, I had no idea he was that big.
Fireball.
He was a big. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Straight chest. Here we go.
Taste the blade of Oshtek.
That's that. That's with the best man. No, we ain't jumping up. Let's put on that famous pressure. Here comes Rick. Oh, Rick. Dude, again. Rick with the antis. Antis and drop antis. Myers. Myers ain't. Okay, I gotta remember that one. Dude, that's your girl's really good now. Stay your ass in the corner.
Death comes to
You know
all.
what? Myers ain't playing
Round
around
two.
like cool kitty. So you know what? I came to whoop his ass.
Taste the blade of Oshtek.
Over the pressure. Oh, let's go, Rick. Oh, here comes Myers. Yeah, and of course it's super. Yeah, you're good to go. It's not gonna kill, but he's got to set up. Didn't know she had that. What the hell? I didn't know she had. I was like, okay, here comes some more. Like, he's gonna hit me. Yeah. Here comes some more pressure.
Taste the blade of Oshtek.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen that. We don't really play Sakuras on this show
At all, man.
I'm like, holy
shit.
what was that? And what do we do?
I don't know, dude. I think that'll be hilarious.
Final round. Fight.
Let's go.
Dude, I'm saying that.
There we go. We're on the board now. Set up. I don't know the match. I thought it was supposed to be hard, man. It's okay. Just give it all to him. Because, like, make him respect. There you go. Walking up.
Taste the blade of Oshtek. Finish him.
Game.
Jason wins. Round 1. Fight.
Yo, don't get too close, man. Look here, white guy. Yo, get over, get over. Hey, it would be nice just keep going, but it's not.
Round 2. Fight.
Look there, Rainbow ain't gonna save you. Look at that. Get in there. Oh, come on. Ah! Got ammo, thank you. Oh, no, this went to another round. Oh, my God.
Oh, that wasn't the last round. Damn it.
Get off the base! Get off the base! All of a sudden you want to go on the base!
Death comes to all. Final round.
Well, you better hurry and fight me.
Fight.
Get off the base, bro! Big head! Yes, sir. Can't go over. I got extra. Don't miss. Woo! Woo! Oh, no! I don't have no time! Go!
Finish him.
Oh, my drones.
Jason wins.
No! No! Wait! There shoots! We lost? Oh, snap!
Round 1.
We lost, right?
Fight.
I think we lost. They want me to get 300? I guess I can get 300.
Yeah. Can't just earn streaks, Jack.
Round two.
Can't just do that,
Fight.
can it? No!
Taste the blade of Austin.
Get back there. Oh, there's a man. Oh, shit. What's her name? Gina? Get out of here. Here, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop now. Bruh. They give you promotion. You got a chopper, right? She caught my bullet, man.
Finish him.
Actually, it'd be nice to cap it, because I ain't gonna have it. So just get it.
Jason wins.
Chopper. Alright, switch to that flashlight shotty. Getting rough, huh? You gotta switch to that. It's getting rough, bro.
Johnny Cage. Jason Voorhees.
Can they keep shooting at the kid, bro? Keep shooting at me for, bro. I still got a bandage or no?
Round one. Fight.
What's going on, bro? I can't have over 200 kills. I ain't playing, bro. You got my back? Oh, man, it'd be nice if they cap this. They got that, bro. Oh, it's all just so good. I ain't seen the kid. What? Oh. Or keep killing us! Can you get out the way? Look, you don't know what to do. Get out the way. It's fun killing us. It's not fair. It is fair.
Round two. Fight.
You got on that flag, bro. I gave you a chance. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Oh, 4 out of 6 rounds. I can't believe that. What's going on, guys? Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want more gameplay from this video, we're taking from the live stream, which should appear right about Facebook.com/TheMarcusJGaming. For more content, check it out over there. I stream Tuesday through Saturday. Didn't know Facebook would do that.
Final
So if you want to see these games.
Fight.
Everything is finished.
Jason wins.
No, you will watch your movie that didn't bother you. No, don't come here bother
can you
me.
watch a movie?
This thing's too laggy.
Are we still gonna watch a movie?
Yes, we are. Hold on. So they're done watching your show, so I'm gonna come interrupt my activities.
Challenge accepted. Ermac. Total con.
Oh my god, my stomach hurts from laughing too much.
Yeah, that made you laugh a lot.
That means I'm gonna have abs by no time.
Round 1.
Yeah, it's only present for like 2 hours.
Round 2. Fight.
What?
Finish him. Sub-Zero wins. Fatality.
Such an annoying character, man.
Challenge accepted. Scorpion. win.